don't go according to plan to these big Titans, right? A best of one, very open to creativity, very open to things not going to the way that they are used to. So Uzbekistan definitely can use that element of surprise in this next match as we get into the drafting phase. Uzbekistan, Jushin being banned out, and we also see the chip taken away from Indonesia.
Coach Casey is making sure that no dairy make it through to the draft. Closing off all the gaps. The chip taken out. Uzbekistan taking out the Hayabusa. I'm getting throwbacks to yesterday's grand finals, wherein the Hayabusa was specifically attacked. So if we're to follow the current metagame, these two teams want to have Suyo Alpha trade open. So even if it's a different battlefield, one could argue some things remain true.
And one of them being Chip Suyo, red side, first phase ban. Oh yeah, definitely. Still gonna stick to that. That is universal in MLBB esports now. Ban down those heroes in the first phase. Uzbekistan's banning pattern a bit more unique based from what I'm used to, but we do see Jushin first phase bans. However, that usually comes from an era wherein teams play or prioritize rather slower, up in your face roamers that don't have a lot of dashes. I'm thinking they might actually even be considering a high loss as a first pick. That's one of the signals you get from a Jushin first phase ban or a Hilda.
Which is why I think this makes sense, right? Because I don't know how far Kana is familiar now with a lot more assassin plays, but from what we saw from the qualifier, she's only been playing the Julian, the Roger, and the Baxia. So these are heroes that can be quite susceptible to the Jushin. So on top of the respect for Cine, there's also that argument to be made there.
All three heroes mentioned have been bumped out of the metagame for very good reasons. In Indonesia, last ban, the Angela, again closing off these gaps. Hard commit by Team Uzbekistan on the Harith.
Yep. So that's one of the mentalities that we're used to seeing from teams who aren't, well, used to the upper echelon of a competitive MLBB. They chase their carries right away. So they go for the Harith. I'm not going to knock it. I mean, we did say, hey, in this kind of setup, go for surprise. And what is more surprising than the Harith first pick, instantly that's responded to by Indonesia with a Lunox. So we know that's going to be a magic duel in the gold lane. However, I'm not going to take it away from Indonesia to just surprise, park that Lunox into the mid instead, and then pick up another gold laner. So with Indonesia picking up the Alpha, it's similar to having the Alpha and the Harith in terms of how fast they are going to get their power spikes. The answer to that is very fast.
Very little ramp up for an Alpha. As soon as he hits level 2, you're good to go. Spear of Alpha is just the icing on the cake. It's what allows for the Alpha to re-engage, disengage. Uzbekistan have to consider that. I was going to say pick up a jungler now or else end up with a weird hero that's going to face off against that Alpha. So they do eventually get the Hylos and the Edith. Do we go Valentina here for Team Indonesia?
I think Valentina would be a good pickup. Once you see that Edith, you see that Hylos, that's an easy Valentina pick. If they decide to go for something a little bit more range in the mid, I wouldn't knock that too. But if it's Indonesia wanting to be aggressive, control the tempo, show off the mid laner skill difference, that's where you go for the Valentina. With Uzbekistan picking up 3 magic damage heroes right away, Indonesia can just rush the Radiant Armors early on. And speaking of Radiant Armor, that's one guy who would want to pick up a Radiant Armor, maybe second item after a Thunderbolt.
But it looks like the Gatot's going to be picked up here as the final pick from Indonesia. So they're actually going to bide their time to get into the mid laner. Earlier on, Leo was, what is it called? Mouthing Eve? And I was thinking Luo Yi as well.
Luo Yi Eve, these are heroes that warrant a ban in the first phase, whether red or blue. And it's uncharacteristic of these two teams to cover their bases, invest in what they feel is their comfort that'll pay off regardless of what the opponent punishes with, and leave the Eve and the Luhi out. So I'm guessing either of them will start attacking either the mid or, in Indonesia's case, the jungle, and then commit to what's left. Indonesia is in a better seat to do that.
Oh,
interesting.
Good.
Fanny.
I think Indonesia's thinking like, ooh, there might be a Fanny assassin. You posed a question earlier, it turns out.
I did.
How ready are they with the assassins? But maybe disrespect by Indonesia. They just don't want to face it if ever there is. So now for Uzbekistan, more physical damage would be required. Their XP and Roam are both magic. Weirdly enough, that means their mid laner, if they have an indivisible fighter, or that's going to be 4 magic damage dealers, and it's only going to be 1 source of physical damage in the jungle, which might, if they don't get the early game that they want, will actually come back to haunt them.
Get punished hard.
Yeah.
Singular items coming in from Indonesia were very low to the ground. There's one solid damage, physical damage that you can invest in. Well read by Coach Casius and Team Indonesia. Uzbekistan, though, are they going to continue attacking the mid lane? Do they have the Eve here now? They picked their poison.
Wait a second. Sorry, guys. Are Uzbekistan drafting without a coach?
It looks like it's just the ladies.
Yeah, it's just the ladies up on stage.
Wow. All right, so we'll see how this pans out once again. Phobia's banned out. What do you think is going to be the next pick for Indonesia?
They can go for physical gold. I honestly really would not mind putting this Lunox in the mid. But if ever, then yeah, Eve. I get the Eve, but at the same time, I see the Edith and the Hylos, and as an Eve player myself, I'm thinking, might be a little bit too tough. But the Gata Kajan Alpha does provide a good enough front line up against what Uzbekistan shows. And that
Answer, the real world manipulation becomes a boxing ring. Like you set it up.
It might end up becoming even like a trap for. Yeah, no. Yeah, wouldn't mind Eve. Go ahead if you want to.
CC from Indonesia. That's actually a signature pick coming in from Bumi. It's a hero that we haven't seen too much of, especially with the recent changes in the meta. What do you guys think about it? What's the latest update on the CC?
We saw a couple of CCs in the group stage of the men's MLBB here at WEC 24. And I'm guessing why Coach Casius and Team Indonesia green-lit the CCs because the lack of damage profile to actually punish a CC in the early to mid. And then when she hits her power spike, she's unstoppable. Uzbekistan, though, there you go. The jungler that we were looking for, the jungler that they needed at the time, I'm actually liking it. It's actually like the X-Borg in the Alpha.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Not a bad pick of there at all. You know the CC's going to want to front. The X-Borg can help front that, but with the Edith of the high loss and plus the crowd control from the Vixana, one of my problems with the Uzbekistan draft is just way too magic coded for my taste. That a few rated armors coming in early from Indonesia, maybe after their first initial items, you're going to see a severe fall off in damage up until you get the Divine Glaive into that Harith. Damage might just actually be severely lacking. Good thing they packed it with True in the jungle. For the last one,
Still a mid.
still a mid. Probably, I don't know why I'm thinking physical gold there.
The Lunox indeed ended
Yeah.
up in the mid.
It did go Lunox mid. See, the X-Borg, the Hylos, the Edith, the Bruno, I feel like, for me, I don't know how you feel, it feels like it's well protected.
I think that's what the last pick slot was left for. Depending on what the 2-pick swing from Uzbekistan was in the blue, they would have decided where the Lunox was going to go anyways. Because in my experience, 4 out of 5 Lunoxes in mid don't pay off.
I agree. I think it takes a little bit more resources to be able to hit that
Yeah.
moment where he deals that damage. And also in the laning phase, it's a little tricky, especially with the lack of range and so on and so forth. But how does the Bruno fare against the Harith in the gold lane?
Actually, I feel like one of the reasons why they decided to park the Bruno into the Harith is that, yeah, they also acknowledge that maybe a little bit more physical would be good. With the chunks of damage that the Bruno can deal, it should be able to temper the Harith a little bit. With the experience, of course, of that Shell has over her counterpart in lane, yeah, Bruno is a great pickup for lane bullying.
Save for the Lunox, Indonesia are firing off on all cylinders. This is a lineup that just goes much faster and can do a lot on the map with very little economy. It should be a fast game if they protect that Lunox mid.
So let's see how all of this unravels, ladies and gentlemen, in the land of Dawn, because only execution will tell. So with that, we're going to throw it over to our casters. Mirko, Naiso, take it away.
And take it away, we shall. Thank you, Eterna, Renmar, and Leo for breaking it down. Welcome again to us here on the caster stand. It's me, Naisu, and Mirko to bring you the action. Day number 1 of the group stages here for MLBB Women's here at WEC ISF 2024. And I know, the panel talked about this pretty well, Mirko.
Yep.
You know, they mentioned that, obviously, call the spade the spade. The tournament favorite right now is Indonesia. We know how much experience they have, but I love to see it again. Even this draft alone for Uzbekistan, very interesting draft to bring to the table, very magic heavy, but we'll see. Again, this is a best of one, right, for the group stages, so we'll see this time around as we jump into the land of Dawn. Mirko, how are you feeling about the draft? Do you think this is a little overloaded on magic damage from Uzbekistan, or is it going to work?
Yeah, I think it's definitely overloaded with damage here. I think Renmar already brought a good point out, right? If they go for Radiant Armor first item, tough boots as well, it's really tough for Uzbekistan to get through some of these frontliners. What's good is the fact that they are up against a Kacha, something that should do well against physical, but against magical, you should be able to still burst them down, right?
Yeah.
The only concern for me now is the Exborg, because now Exborg is really the main physical damage dealer, or the main non-magic damage dealer in this team. If Indonesia get rid of the Faraga armor early on, win out the poke battle before the turtle, it's going to be really hard for Uzbekistan to deal damage. You already see here in the mid lane, Vivian and Cine. Even though Kacha doesn't do too well against magic, you can see exactly how much pressure he has in the lane itself.
Yeah, you know, all she has to do is basically get the unbreakable taunt off. You know, for the most part, early game, Vivian doesn't have to do too much work. She did get a revitalize out too from Yule. So, I mean, it'll be back up by the time they actually decide to fight, if they, you know, go aggressive on the first objective here. But so far, I think, yeah, the panel really broke things down with this. And one of the big aspects to this too is they're going to be so confident in the fact that they have this alpha in the hands of Vivol, and you can just roam around Vivian Vivol all day if they want to. And, you know, if you get caught, it's going to be troublesome for you if you're Uzbekistan. So I think when you're talking about the process of this game, I'd love to see them try to contest, you know, the first couple objectives with the turtle come up, and kind of check to see if they can actually go toe-to-toe with Indonesia, because like you said, eventually those defensive magic items are going to get picked up, and it's going to be that much harder. So I'd love to see Uzbekistan, for them to try to get this early lead if they can. It's already going to be started up, though.
It's really tough for Kana here. Goes up top, Fumieko just pops in the sprint, and it's going to be a free turtle over to Indonesia. Vivol not even needing the retribution now. Ooh, Cine jumping in earlier. Hinasa forced the armor back. Vivol very aggressive. And you can see the reason they picked up the alpha together with the Lunox and the Kacha. Crazy mid control, amazing prio in the mid lane, and fast clearing jungle. Alpha clears out the jungle so much faster, and you could already see earlier, no ult for Kana, because they were able to invade so early on to stop that level 4 from hitting for Kana.
Yeah, that's what we always talk about when we're looking at timings and some of the early pressure that happens in the jungle, especially. You know, those minor things really do delay getting those level 4s for that first turtle. And so far, Indonesia, you know, they've mastered those timings at this point. So they had that upper hand, that they had that advantage, and they work to continue put pressure.
Invading again into the enemy jungle. But I think one thing we can talk about, Naisu, is the question that the panel asked earlier, right? Bruno versus Harith, how does this lane look like? I'd say it's 50-50 until Bruno gets max stacks. Once you have the stacks on, Space Loves Us definitely going to be struggling here to go for trades around the map. And when it comes to sieging turrets, Bruno is a beast. You can see Chell already just getting the entire turret down. Glorious pathway over Vivian. He's able to get out. Turtle Guard knocks City up, but he has the brilliance to escape it now. With the Spear of Alpha, displaces the Kana, just melts down to the damage of City Chell. And now it's an AOG all the way towards that turret. It's slowly the only one left standing here in the bottom lane.
Really tough. Gonna pop up some damage there, but slowly. You know, she couldn't do much but watch that fight, and even in that last fight, you know, Yule wasn't able to use that revitalize that she had. But it all started with Indonesia just kind of cutting them off from that tier 1 turret. It allowed Chell to go ahead and get a bunch of extra gold. And then remember, that fight was started up by Yule. Dropped the glorious pathway. They decided to fight, but unfortunately, they got overloaded just from the damage from Indonesia's lineup. And so that's the preview that we're talking about. And, you know, again, this isn't even with those magic resist items that we discussed earlier. So this turtle is going to come up here, and it looks like Uzbekistan, they actually want to fight this. They're going to go in.
Onward, Earth Shatter connected to Fumieko. City's still going to be able to free hit those. The plan will be used up. The Spear of Alpha onto the back there. Fumieko gets picked off, but City gets rid of Hinata. Meanwhile, the back line is going to be Stace Lovesoft's looking for a flank. Unfortunately, good brilliance from Cine. Still a lot of damage placed down. Vivol rotating outside of the Zaman force. Space Loves Us won't be able to get the reset. It's a win, only losing one member for Indonesia, and they continue with an invade. That's a Spear of Alpha. Kana, not even in her own jungle is she safe.
Kana's gonna have to just get forced out, and this is that momentum we were talking about that builds up so quickly. And, you know, even that last team fight, still wondering, you know, Uzbekistan, they wanted to fight it even after what happened down in the bottom lane. And you knew that they were going to be at a disadvantage. They fought anyway. And even with trying to outflank Indonesia, they couldn't find, you know, any kind of connection or kill that they were looking for. It's really tough here. Again, Glorious Pathway going to be dropped down.
Baton over, Hinata able to get the armor down, can purify out Shell. Still able to slide tackle out, Spear of Alpha, now the comeback with AOG. Taking 2 members back slowly, force the flicker. City will flicker as well. Off angle to escape from the possible Eternal Guard. Another 3 for 0 trade.
Again, you know, I'm wondering that Glorious Pathway, sometimes it gets set down and you might not want to take the pathway because it's not going to be the victory right there in that team fight. And that was very, just kind of a preview again of the damage that's overloaded. You know, we've seen this Lunox now picked up a couple times, even back in the men's games. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But with the way that City is playing this and relying, even under the turret, you're able to just go ahead and shred down the damage. So Glorious Pathway dropped again.
Vivian doesn't have the AOG, might be caught. The Earth Shatter used up. Now the onward. All the displacements over to Vivian. Everything in the kitchen sink thrown at her, and she will fall. Chell, be careful here. Doesn't have to purify. We'll go head to head with Hinata using the Primal Wrath. Kana, Faraga armor. He melted down completely, forcing out the last Insanity defensively. It's a Brilliance defensively too. Vival takes away the purple, getting herself to a 2-level lead. Actually, she might hit a 3-level lead before the turtle spawns.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. You know, eventually you get to this point where you are just really testing the limit. And that's what Indonesia's doing. You know, even fighting under and in between the tier 2 and tier 3 turret earlier on, they're going to go ahead and start this turtle. Uzbekistan, they've showed us they are willing to fight. A Glorious Pathway is there, but Turtle's claimed that Kana's gone in an instant. She was so low already, even without the armor. A couple hits with that ball, it's, you know, she's gone, and now the tier 1's in trouble in the mid.
AOG straight onto slowly. Did not send great displacement with the onward, but the dive continues with the Brilliance. Obi Echo might be in a tough spot here. Ula will be able to get a kill back, but in the bottom lane, they're just taking everything away from the enemy jungle. Orange buff down, Vival stunned up, the Curse Blast will connect, but Vival with the Queen's Wings, it doesn't even feel like this damage is damage anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good punish. Like, Uzbekistan is finding these, you know, little punishes when they can, when Indonesia goes and jumps in, you know, under the turrets even, and that might be what they need. These small little wins, get a couple kills, get some gold, maybe even shut down gold eventually, get that gold and the items in the right hands, and they might be able to stand a better chance when it comes to fighting. But you're seeing it right here. The gap between the jungle.
Hinata with a flick around will still be caught by the last shot from Cine as Chell deals with a turret down below. It is a tier 2. Kana is looking for the counter play, looking for a trade on the map, but they're going to lose another tier 1, possibly another tier 2 here, Naisu.
This is where things get a little out of hand, you know, on the macro level, they get a little dicey. A massive jump again. They're going to go into the turret.
Purify out with a curtain call on her. She was kind of forced to just purify out. The turret wasn't taken up top, by the way. Not going to be a trade just yet as Vival tries to cut off the lane here up top to prevent a push for a trade.
You know, maybe that's why also the Ganakacha is just so valuable right now. Even if you don't need a kill, the Avatar of the Guardian is enough pressure. Oh, they're gonna fight again.
Once again, Hinata's gonna be baited down. Pure Bubble connects onto Amula. The bonus of it all, but will not be able to survive. It's a shutdown at least for Space Loves Us, but Echo just uses the yo-yo to get rid of Space Loves Us. Now it's Indonesia, dashing forward. Chell looking for the kill in the base. Unstoppable. Chell is right now as we get to take a look at the items. Man, with a 9,000 gold lead, that's crazy.
And with that, I mean, she picked up the Malefic Gun before all that happened, so that little extra range also helping to cap out some of those kills. They're all going to result into this Lord being taken, secured now by Indonesia, furthering that gold lead, 10,000 up. And look at the damage. I mean, I'm actually surprised, you know, we usually see the Lunox just shredding through, and she has been able to do that. But Shell has been popping off lately, and it all started again minutes ago on that bottom lane take. And this is going to be troublesome here. I think at this point too, man, it's hard to get any control, any space around your side of the jungle. And Vival she's relentless. She doesn't let go of anything here. They're going to prep up for this push Brilliant's going to be used. They're just checking things out. They're going to take every buff from Uzbekistan while Indonesia waits for this Lord to come through mid. And mind you, those holy shields already popped earlier on too, at least in the mid lane. So this should be an easy turret take for Indonesia to get in the base of Uzbekistan. We'll see if they have enough. Again, if we look at the lineup from Uzbekistan, is it enough to defend through this first Lord? Usually we do see that. They still have the holy shield on top, and I believe on the bottom, they're going to make work.
AOG already used by Vivian. No big resources just yet. Glorious pathway by Yulo walking up with the Chell. With the Eternal Guard, I thought you were going to get a kill there, but it's actually going to be the Hylos who falls. Base loves us as well. Revitalize, getting them all the HP back. As Hinata goes up the Primal Rapid. Bruce West doesn't connect on the Chell, and Vivian just walks up again. He's not a very low, goes in for the onward. Last Insanity, almost dealing enough damage to keep down, but City is surviving with just a sliver of HP. Only slowly. She needs to get a massive Curse Blast, but Indonesia will just continue to push into base, even without minion wave. Spirit of Alpha inside of the base. No minions to end the game. They don't even need it.
Yangi akkauntdan noldan ko'tarilyapmiz. To'liq portlayslar bilan imkon. Eski akkauntimiz Tanya. Saudi Arabia.
Hope will find a way, even when all is forlorn. Hope will find a way, even when all is forlorn.
Yetmeni apa gaitamiz apa? Yapora.
Enemy reaches the battlefield. Smash them! All troops deployed! It is love that keeps been slain. Double kill. An enemy has been slain. It is a blessing to bloom and to wither. You have slain an enemy. We hold our ground. An enemy has been slain. Your team destroyed a turret. You have slain an enemy.
Ha, ketmiş da olmaz taşlara. Kanka. Bro, telefon kapalı. Ne git bakayım.
Obey the daylight.
Bakayım. Yiyecek. Bize bir çay içip geliyorduk değil mi bize? Alan yiyecek. Alan yiyecek. Çay içip geliyorduk.
Goodbye. Shut down and initiate retreat. Shut down. An ally has been slain. Has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Despair will be dispelled. Double kill. The sun slain. Too loud. Kill. We hold our ground. You have slain an enemy. Think twice before you lay your hands on us. Double kill. An enemy has been slain. Ally has been slain. Triple kill. Quite wasted. Destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Shut down. Enemy double kill. We hold our ground. An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Double kill. Killing spree. Triple kill. Victory!
low.
Hope will find a way, even when all is forlorn. Welcome to Mobile Legends! Launch attack! Okay. 5 seconds till the enemy reaches the battlefield. Smash them! All troops deployed.
Such a painful goodbye.
Despair will be dispelled. An enemy has been slain! Ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain! This is not the end of us. Ally has been slain. Launch attack has been slain. Shut down. Double kill. Shut down. Mega kill. Double kill.